Okay, so we're going to talk about setting up skin or subsurface scattering materials. So it's actually pretty simple, but let's just kind of go through the process. So right here, I have a lot of skin. I have this guy, Bloney, who is a main character or antagonist character from another film I was working on. And so I'm going to go and set his skin up again and talk about kind of the process of getting this going. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up a light. Actually, let's go and make a new surface material. Let's go and throw a new surface on there. We're going to go and put a light in here so we can see what we are doing. Honestly, with skin, I find it's pretty, it's good to have some sort of direct like light source coming in from a side. Indirect light sources tend to not show scattering as well. So I'm just going to kind of move that over. Really don't see it doesn't matter, but I'm just, you want to make sure you can see it. Okay. So let's go ahead and maybe throw this on Renderman. See if we can get this to render. Okay, here we go. All right. There we go. That'll give us good lighting. So let's go ahead and start attaching our materials. We'll start attaching our textures, I guess I should say. He's gonna have a lot. All right. Subsurface 6. I think this might be it. No, that's not gonna be it. Which one is it? Pixar Surface 8. That is what we are working with. Pixar Surface. There we go. I'm going to graph this guy out. So I'm going to go ahead and start throwing in my initial textures. Pixar texture. And let's go ahead and get this in here. All right, so that should be his regular body texture. And then we'll just pop that into the color right here. We'll see if that links in. Let's go ahead and put in our normal. Grab our file. So I'm going blue ONE body, NM, NM. There we go. It's a kind of large map, so it might take a second to get them in. So I'm going to go ahead and grab. Let's see, what else do we have? Texture map, normal map. I have a displacement map actually I can put in here as well. Actually, I'm going to rename that. a few of these. It might be a little bit hard to tell. So there we go. So there we got the color. Normal map, let's go ahead and plug that in proper place. It's going to be under globals bump. We'll see that. Take a look once it pops in. So I need to actually invert that. So this normal map actually came out from ZBrush. So that's the reason why it's kind of looking a little funky. You just got to flip it. There we go. And then this displacement map, I can actually use actually a little bit as a specular map, but I'm going to use it as like a regular displacement. So what I can do is actually right here in the roughness, I could kind of use that just a little bit if I wanted to. I'm going to just kind of plug it in. And that's going to be a result R. Specular roughness. And then we actually have to activate it with just a little bit of face color. So we'll see what that changes. See if we got that little bit right here coming in from the normal map. So what we can do is go into the normal map node and actually adjust amount that, and that'll take care of that area right there. Under here, under advanced, normal map, adjust amount, bring that up. See if that adjusts it. You see it lightens it up a little bit. Go all the way up. See how it kind of wipes out a lot of that. I'm going to go and grab the Pixar displace. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to plug it into the displacement material here. There we go. Good, it's plugged in. Okay. And then we can take the scalar displacement. We're going to need that gray node or that 2 float. Since we need a grayscale image. Put that in here. Result F into displacement scalar. It's going to be kind of crazy in a second. Oh, he is so swollen, so swollen. Okay. Let's take that displacement amount. Let's take that gain down to, let's go. Okay, let's take, sorry, I'm just trying to get all this a little bit more easy to, let's close that out. There we go, okay. Take the gain, let's take that down like a 0.5. So it looks a little bit better. 2.5. What I'm looking at is kind of like this right here. And how if we had this basically at 0, like that's kind of where we're starting with. We don't have a lot of bumpiness going on there. But if we do like a 0.1, so you get a little bit more definition in the detailing here. 0.2. Get a little bit more. So probably like a 0.15. Something like that would work. And you're probably wondering, well, how am I getting displacement for this character? Like, what am I using? So obviously we can get the displacement in the painting program, Substance. But this particular displacement map actually came from ZBrush. And so since this was a ZBrush sculpt of a character that I made, the original sculpt was, way more heavily detailed than the smooth model that we had originally. So, so the displacement map is actually derived in ZBrush from the 30 million poly model that was made for that lower poly character, lower poly rig that I can actually animate. So that's where I'm actually getting that from. All right, so we'll go ahead and live with that. And let's go back to Pixar Surface 8. And I'm going to bring up, there we go. Let's bring down. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of like a pop on the skin. So that's not bad. And so what's happening is that displacement map that I plugged into the roughness is just kind of driving areas where maybe the skin is a little bit more sheeny or a little bit cleaner or whatever. So you can kind of see how some of that shows up there. All right, we'll talk about the skin. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and go down to Subsurface, and you're going to see where, in here, where we have Subsurface Model, and we'll have where it says Jensen Dipole. There's actually a bunch of these: Jensen, Dion, Burley, multiple mean, exponential, and non-exponential. I kind of gravitate to Jensen and Dion. I feel like they both work really, really well. Not to say that the others don't. They all work really, really well. But the difference between these is going to be the math that drives the light transmission through the surface. I don't know exactly what the differences are, but I kind of just play around with each one of them and I see what I like and what I don't like. So I encourage you guys to kind of play around with them yourselves and see what works. So generally I use Dion. I feel like it gives me a good place to start with. So I can kind of play with that. Jensen, you'll see if you go to like some of these other ones, they'll have like different options. So like the multiple mean free paths, you actually have different color settings and different channels and stuff like that. So you can kind of play with different things. So it just kind of depends. But like I said, it's a little bit simpler when you go with like Dion or whatever. So if I go ahead and turn up gain all the way, you see that if I go in and let's look at, maybe the hand right here, you'll see what happens is basically as light is hitting that hand, you'll see it through a little bit. First thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to, I'm going to actually go into that color that we saw in the color right here. Okay. So what I need to do is we have a color here. Usually what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pop in the color that I have under my diffuse. And so that's just gonna be the same exact color map for me. You could put a different color map in there if you wanted one specifically for like the top color of like your skin. You could do that if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna go and pop this in here and it will basically reinforce that color that we had in here before. Otherwise, it's just going to be really white. Okay, so that's going to be in there. So what we're already seeing is you'll see some purples and reds and some kind of lightening of the skin as it transmits through. Awesome, that's great. So what we can do, we can actually change that color that through here by going into mean free path color. So that can be whatever color we want. If we want it to be red, you'll see how it transmits. Well, that's more of a pinky red, but you'll see how it actually transmits the color and actually changes it. If I want something like green, you'll see how it transmits that as well. Generally, that's going to be the color of the blood that's inside of you, because again, that blood's right under the surface, and that's what the color the light is turning as it hits. It's reflecting that color. So for him, he has red, so he's going to be a little bit red. Now the mean free path distance, this is going to be essentially how much transmission we have through the body. Okay, so let's just change the values and see what we got. Okay, so at a mean free path color, our distance value of 20, you'll see that it all kind of turns a little pink. Okay, if we drop it down to like, you'll see it just turns back to its original color. We do get a little bit of that through here, through some of the thinner areas of where light is hitting. And you'll see it on this side as well. But basically what's happening is that distance is determining the amount of distance the light will actually go through a mesh. So that's set to 5 right now. That's not going all the way through the hand. But if we go to, let's say 15, you'll see that we're getting a lot more light transmission through that. Okay. Now, what's correct? Okay. So while this might be turning a bit pink, if we look at a thicker part of the body where light's hitting it, it's not going to turn as pink, because that means there's a larger amount of distance from his chest to his back, where the light should be coming out the other side. So that's not illuminating as much. But if you look at places like his horns on his arm, you see how they're kind of turning a bit pink right there? Light's transmitting pretty easily through that. If you try to think of real world scenarios, your hand, when you hold it up to a light, is going to transmit more light through it the closer that hand is to the light source. So like a flashlight, or or something that's really bright. It's also going to change based on the brightness of that light. So we kind of get the same thing here. So depending on where the light is, how far away it is, and how bright it is, or how big the light is, that is going to determine how much light actually transmits through. The mean free path distance is also kind of a value that we need to think about when we're determining scale of a creature or a character. Something, an object, a character, or whatever, that is really, really small is going to have a smaller physical distance for light to travel through. So that means the light will generally transmit much more easily through a small fleshy object, like a tree frog, or a fish, or an earthworm, than it's going to through something like an elephant. It's just not going to do it. Light's not going to go through it as easily. It has a lot further distance to go through, and the skin's a lot thicker. So if you're going to be having a very large creature, that mean free path distance is going to have a different value than if I was making a small toad or a small frog type of character. So you need to adjust that however you need to. Also, think of the material that the light is transmitting through. So a surface material that might be a little bit harder, like turtle shell, horn, antlers, you know, other harder objects tend to not transmit light as quickly or as easily as something that is thin, like skin. So something to think about. So for him, light should transmit through him, but he's pretty big. He's actually about, you know, about, let's see, how big is he? He's about 12 feet tall, actually, because my main character only came up to about his belly. So he's about 12 feet. He's big. He's about the height of an elephant. So he will have a bit of transmission through him, but not that much. So if I go up to like his face and take a look at the face. All right, let's go here. We do want to see some transmission through the nose. We want to see some transmission through thinner parts of the body. But area where there's bone, like the skull and stuff, we probably don't need to see that much transmission. So for him, honestly, I probably would want to go in and bring it down the free path distance to maybe about a value of 5. And so you'll see this get darker, but we still see this light up a little bit. And we can also play around a little bit more, maybe like a 4, say if you like that. Yeah, something like that could work. Let's go ahead and turn off joints. Yeah. Actually, maybe let's go 3.5. I think 3 is going to work. He's such a big guy. The skin is going to be real thick on him. I think that's going to look really good. Okay. So something else we can do is I'm not getting, like close up, I'm not getting an awful lot of detail on the skin. So I might honestly go in and add in a layered overall bump of some sort. So I'm going to go ahead and grab let's do a noise. And this is just a 2D procedural right here, okay? And I'm going to go down to the global, the bump, and then we will have a, what is it? A bump overlay right here, okay? So I'm going to use a PXR bump node, and that's going to be under Renderman. There it is. Okay. And I'm going to go and put in my noise. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want a little bit of breakup at a smaller scale on his skin. That's all I want. So I'm going to put it in under the pattern. And I'm going to go and tell it to repeat 5 and 5. So you'll see that that's actually probably not enough. So I'm going to do 10 and 10. Still not enough. Let's do 20 and 20. Not enough. 50 and 50. Maybe getting closer. The scale is going to be too high for sure. 0.2. Still too high. Yeah, still too high. 0.1. Okay, let's try making that bigger again. I'm gonna do 100 by 100. Okay, so the pattern itself, I think we're getting closer to the scale, but the pattern itself is getting a little odd. So what we can do is, I want to try to make it maybe a little bit smaller in pattern. I want to go to, let's see, I wish I had the little preview thing right here. I'm going to open that up, see if I can get the preview to show back up. Doesn't seem to want to be showing. Let's do. Yeah, I can mess with it. All right. So amplitude, I'm going to bring that down. Let's bring it down a little bit more. Because I really just want a subtle bumping of the skin. I don't want anything too crazy. And then ratio. Okay, I think actually ratio I need to go up. Yeah, there we go. And then play around the depth max. Too much, way too much. That's kind of interesting. Maybe not that. Let's do it 2. See if we go down, see what that looks like. No, let's go back to 4. I like 4. Frequency. Let's mess around with frequency. So a little bit too much. Bring down the frequency. And also, I do think the bump scale is too high too, so I still need to bring that down too. But I'm trying to look at like the size of these details and see if we can kind of play around with them. Okay, that might be better. Let's see, I'm going to change the noise type, see if it gives me anything I like better. No, I think below is fine. I'm going to go to density. Actually, I kind of like density. I like that. Let's go, let's bring that spottiness back down to here. Size random. Okay. All right, so I think that's probably going to give me about the best look I can get. And then I need to go back into, let's do scale. I have it set to 100 by 100. Let's change that to, let's go back and look on here. $110, 110. Okay, back out, back out. That's 0.1, that's gonna be 0.05. Bring that down a little bit more. So I'm just really looking for that subtleness on the skin, just trying to get some sort of breakup and texture build up on it. and let's do an environmental daylight. Just kind of see what this whole thing looks like. Take off that, see what we got. So there you go. That's skin in a nutshell, basically. And one last little bit. You can bring up the face color just a bit more, get a little bit more of a sheen out of him because he's looking a little bit flat, especially in this light. Something else we can also do is in the primary specular, we can also run our normal map into it. And that can also kind of give us a little bit of a different effect. Okay, I'm just going to move this over to my other screen. Okay. All right, normal map, going over to the bump under advanced for primary specular. And that can kind of help out the, not only the normal mapping of the object, but also can give us a little bit more reinforcement of the details with specular highlighting. So you'll see there, get a little bit more of a sheen on it. So there you go. All righty, that's all I got.